Good evening. Welcome to Opening Your Heart Again, our special edition of Mondays with Meira for Tu B'Av. So let's take a moment to arrive. Everyone just get comfortable in your chair and take a nice deep breath. And just put everything to one side, everything from the day. Put it all to one side. Great. And now take another nice deep breath. And slowly let it out. And another nice deep breath. And just let your legs relax, your back relax, your arms. Just let your whole body be relaxed. And really allow yourself to be here, to be present tonight. And so if you'd like, I'd like to ask everybody to put one word in the chat of how you're feeling right now, right before we begin. Puffy. I don't know what that means. Puffy, okay. Relaxed. Yeah, hopeful. Beautiful. Thank you. All right. So I'm really grateful that you've chosen to spend part of this Tu B'Av evening with me. Whether someone invited you, you found this online, or you're simply curious about what tonight might bring, I believe you're here for a reason. And so tonight isn't about dating. It isn't about finding Mr. Right. And it certainly isn't about pretending that heartbreak doesn't leave scars. Tonight is about something much deeper. It's about what happens to our hearts after loss. Because whether you've experienced divorce, widowhood, broken dreams, disappointment, or simply years of wondering if love is still possible, something happens. Without even realizing it, we quietly close a door. Not because we've stopped believing in love, but because we learned that a closed door feels safer than an open heart. Tonight, I want us to stand in front of that door together, not to force it open, not to ignore what's behind it, simply to notice it, because I believe HaShem never intended that door to remain locked forever. So, one of the things that I love most about Judaism is that our calendar seems to really understand the human heart. Just a few days ago, we sat on the floor on Tisha B'Av, and we mourned, we remembered, we allowed ourselves to feel loss. And then Almost immediately, it feels like, comes Tu B'Av, a day associated with love, hope, marriage, new beginnings. Have you ever wondered why? Why would the Jewish calendar move so quickly from mourning to joy? I don't think it's because Judaism expects us to get over it. I think it's because Judaism teaches us something extraordinary. Healing doesn't happen by skipping grief. Healing happens by walking through it and eventually finding the courage to open one more door. Anybody who has gone through grief of any kind should really hear that, really get that. And we all have, we all do on a regular basis. As things happen around us, we feel a little hit of grief. I like to tell you why this matters so deeply to me. A few years ago, my life changed almost overnight. In 2020, during the pandemic, my mother passed away. She'd been living with us for 14 years. And just 2 weeks later, my beloved husband of 23 years died suddenly of a heart attack. One moment I was a wife, and the next, I was a widow. My twins were 19, and they still needed a mother. So I did what so many women do. I kept on functioning. I made meals. I answered questions. And I took care of everyone else. But every evening, I would come home to silence. Have you ever unlocked your front door and for just a split second forgotten there would be no one inside? You almost call out, and then you remember. There was no one waiting to hear about my day, no one to laugh with, no one to share life's little moments. And somewhere, beneath all the grief, questions began whispering in my mind. I literally started thinking, who is going to love me? Who would choose someone carrying this much loss? And is my love story over, finished, done? I didn't realize it then, but grief had quietly closed a door inside of me. Not because I'd stopped believing in love, because I'd stopped believing that love could happen for me. And then one day, something shifted. A sentence came into my heart. It was, I still have too much love inside me to spend the rest of my life alone. And that sentence changed everything. Not because I immediately met Yitzi. I didn't. What changed was something far more important. I reached for the handle. I made a sacred decision. I would stop waiting for life to happen to me. and I would become a partner with HaShem in creating whatever came next. Again, if HaShem doesn't resonate with you, use whatever word you use for God or creator, source, someone who's bigger than us. So that experience taught me something that I now see in almost every woman that I work with. We think that we're waiting for the right man, but often we're actually waiting for permission to believe again. Think about that. The walls that we build after heartbreak aren't signs of weakness. They're signs of survival. Our hearts are incredibly wise. When we've been hurt, they say, "I'll keep you safe." The tragedy is that the very walls that protect us can eventually keep out the blessings that we've been praying for. Not just love, also joy, friendship, trust, adventure, purpose. The handle is on our side of the door. Think about that for a minute. Every year after Tisha B'Av, the Jewish people begin rebuilding. Not because the temple has already been rebuilt, and not because all suffering has ended. We rebuild because rebuilding is an act of faith. Every stone that's placed after destruction declares, "I believe tomorrow exists." For thousands of years, our people lived with that faith. Even more recently, we experienced that kind of destruction in my extended family. My machetenim, the in-laws of my daughter, owned a makolet in Bat Ayin. It was the heart of the community. It was the only food source in the community, really. And early one morning, just a few weeks ago, it completely burned. Completely burned. And what did the family decide to do? They said, "We're going to rebuild. Of course we're going to rebuild." But they couldn't do it alone. You know, they say it takes a village. And so I found myself on Tisha B'Av helping with a campaign to raise money to rebuild that makolet, that store. Every person who gave some amount to rebuild it was declaring an act of emunah that there will be a tomorrow, that the heart of this little town would once again beat. HaShem is constantly creating new beginnings. Every sunrise is a declaration that creation is still unfolding. And every morning we say, "Hamekadesh b'tuvo b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh bereshit." That HaShem, in His goodness, renews the work of creation every single day. So I want to ask you, if HaShem continually renews the world, perhaps He's not finished renewing your life Perhaps he's not finished writing your story. I'd like to know what you think about that in a word in the chat. Just take a moment and put a word in. Very curious. Hope. The question is what you think about rebuilding after destruction. Always new chances, right? Thank you. And so you guys know me, and you know that I also always like to put in some kind of a guided reflection. And so we're going to go into that now. Second. I'd like to invite you to get comfortable. Place both feet gently on the floor. And rest your hands softly in your lap. And take a nice, slow, deep breath in. And let it go. And again, take a nice breath in. And this time, just sigh it out. Ah. Yes. One more nice deep breath in. And again, sighing it out. Ah. Good. Feel your shoulders soften. Feel your back soften. Your hips. Your legs. Your arms. Feel your hands and feet soften. And feel warm and relaxed. Now imagine yourself walking along a quiet stone path at sunset. Just walking along. The air is warm. There's no rush. No pressure. Nothing to do. Only peace. And you slowly walk along, taking in the beauty of the sunset. And in the distance, you see a beautiful carved wooden door. It's strong, elegant, weathered by time, but still beautiful. As you come closer, you notice something remarkable. Your name is engraved on the door. See your name. This is the door to your heart. Just stand before it. There's nothing you have to do. Just stand there, taking it in, and just notice. How does it feel to just stand there? Maybe there's feelings behind the door that you can begin to notice. What do you notice? Is there sadness? Fear? Longing? Maybe there's hope. Without any judgment, simply notice what emotions you're feeling there. Just take a moment and just feel. Now imagine that HaShem is standing beside you, not ahead of you, pulling you, and not behind you, pushing you, beside you. Allow him to come to you however he presents. His presence is calm, loving, patient. You see his beautiful light all around you. And he gently joins his hand with yours. And together, you rest your hand on the handle, not opening the door, simply holding it for a moment. And you can ask him silently to yourself, HaShem, what fear have I been protecting behind this door? What fear have I been protecting behind this door? Just allow the answer to come. And now ask, what blessing have you been waiting for me to receive? What blessing have you been waiting for me to receive? And allow yourself to hear the answer. We're standing before a door to our heart, and we're asking HaShem, what blessing have you been waiting for me to receive? You can also take this opportunity to ask HaShem for a blessing that you want to receive. Just take a moment. And when you are ready, very slowly, the wooden door with your name on it opens just a few inches, only as much as feels safe. And a warm, golden light begins to shine through. It isn't a blinding light. It doesn't rush. It simply fills the room with peace. That light is hope. It's a light of possibility. The light is the quiet assurance that your story is not over. But take another minute to ask HaShem anything you want to ask and receive the bracha that He has for you today. And take one more deep breath. And when you're ready, you can gently return to the room. You can rub your hands together and put your warm palms over your eyes and let yourself open your eyes to the warm palms. Just going to check. So Miriam says, I know he's not finished with my story, but I don't know the direction yet. Isn't that the truth? Is there anyone that wanted to share anything from what they experienced? Maybe one word or a sentence? You can just put a word or a couple of words in the chat. HaShem wants me to feel genuinely loved. Why is there a question mark? I am enough. Beautiful. Of course, HaShem wants you to feel genuinely loved. May I tell you something that took me years to understand? Healing didn't happen because I met Yitzi. Meeting Yitzi was the fruit. The healing was the root. The greatest miracle in my story wasn't the wedding. It was the day I became willing to reach for the handle of that door. People often say to me, Meira, you help women find love. And I smile and I tell them, no, that's not actually what I do. What I actually do is help women become free enough to receive the love that HaShem may already be preparing for them. There is a profound difference. Finding someone is an event. Opening your heart is a transformation. And transformation rarely happens alone. Every meaningful change in my own life happened because someone walked beside me. A teacher, a mentor, a coach, a friend, someone who helped me to see what I couldn't yet see for myself. And that is why I created Opening to Love Again. Not because I have a magic formula, and not because I can promise when or how love will arrive, but because I know what it's like to stand in front of that door, believing that it would never open again. And I also know the joy of discovering that HaShem had not abandoned me on the other side of it. So, if you've listened tonight, You've realized that your own door has been closed, not because you stopped believing in love, but because you've been very faithfully protecting a wounded heart. And I would be honored to walk beside you, not to push you through the doorway or to tell you what your future should look like, but to help you to find the courage, the clarity, and the faith to place your hand on the handle and discover what HaShem may already have waiting for you on the other side. Because here's what I know to be true. Tonight we stood together in front of that door. Some of you may have recognized it immediately. Others may have only begun to sense that it's been there for a very long time. And I don't believe Hashem brought you here tonight by accident. If something has been stirred in your heart this evening, don't let this become just another beautiful evening that fades by tomorrow morning. Take one more step. I'd like to offer you a complimentary heart-to-heart conversation. It's not a sales call and it's not a coaching session. It's simply a conversation between two women. It's a safe place to tell your story, for us to explore where you are today, what's been keeping that door closed, and what your next step might be. And if I believe coaching is the right path for you, I'll tell you. And if I believe another path would serve you better, I'll tell you that too. Either way, my prayer is that you'll leave our conversation with greater clarity, greater hope, and a deeper trust that Hashem is still writing your story. Because the greatest miracle in my life wasn't the day that I married Yitzi. The greatest miracle happened long before that. It was the day I reached for the handle. My prayer for each of you tonight is not simply that you find love. It's that you find the courage to open your heart again to Hashem's healing, to hope, to joy, and to whatever beautiful chapter He's preparing for you next. Thank you for allowing me to share this Tu B'Av evening with you. May Hashem bless each of you with healing, with peace, and with the confidence to take your next step, with one hand on the handle at a time. So I can stay for about 15 minutes to answer a few questions about what we covered tonight. And if you have a personal question, please let's save it for a private heart-to-heart session.